Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to It's the Bearded Man podcast with your favorite and the world's favorite bearded man, Bobby. Today, I'm sharing out a podcast that I recently did with my man, Zack Kravits, who is a filmmaker, creative coach, and entrepreneur, and he's the host of Ramblin Radio podcast. I had connected with Zack back in the summer of 2019 as he was a past guest of Purpose in the Youth for episode 136, Creating a Do or Die Mentality, as well as a guest on group episode 4, Escaping the Comparison Trap of Purpose in the Youth podcast. And so I didn't have a podcast to put out this week, and so I wanted to share out this podcast that I did with him back on January 26th, which was actually a few hours after I had learned about Kobe Bryant passing. So it was an interesting time to hop on a podcast as this was already scheduled. But we address it right off in the beginning and I think another time throughout the episode. But it's a great conversation. Zack is an incredible guy from the Midwest, incredible energy. I am a big fan of just what he's all about and kind of sticking to his plan and not worrying about what other people are doing. And he's found ways to take his passion for filmmaking and turning it into a career, as well as now his new thing where he's become a creative coach for a lot of filmmakers out there. We deep dive into my story. We deep dive into a lot of things that I've probably talked about in previous podcasts, but it's always different when you have somebody on the opposite end asking you the questions where it's coming from a curiosity from his standpoint. And I think he does a fabulous job as a host. And it just shows you that you can wear many creative hats, as you cannot put this man in a box, as he's a creative coach, an entrepreneur, a filmmaker, a podcaster. Zack Kravits can pretty much do whatever the fuck he wants, and that's what I absolutely love about him. So I hope you guys and gals enjoy today's podcast. And if you do, as always, the best way to support It's the Bearded Man podcast is leave a review on the iTunes podcast app. We're growing rapidly. We're trying to get these reviews through the roof. As always, too, you could always share this out on your Instagram story by tagging me at Bobby, B-O, 3 B's, 4 A's, and a Y. And with this being a special podcast with my man Zack Kravits, make sure you tag him as well. That's at Zack, Z-A-C-K, K-R-A-V-I-T-S. And check out his podcast if you enjoy this one. That is the Ramblin Radio podcast with Zack Kravits. Without further ado, let's get into the podcast. Hope you guys and gals enjoy it. Keep crushing, and I'll have a new podcast for you coming real soon. See ya.
All right. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to another Ramblin Radio episode number 36. We've got an incredible guest, an incredible episode. We've got Bobby, 3 B's, 4 A's, 1 Y, Bobby. Incredible guest. I was really excited about this episode. I've been wanting to do this for a long time. Bobby is the host of the podcast Purpose in the Youth. Probably heard of it. And now he's got a brand new podcast called It's the Bearded Man, where he's just recording solos now. And this episode is incredible because he just brings so much to the table. He brings so much energy. Whenever I get done talking with him, I'm always in a much better mood. He's just one of those people that really just gives, and doesn't ask for anything in return. And there's not many people like him. And so it's an honor to call him a friend of mine. And I think you guys are really going to be in for a treat with this episode. It's going to brighten your day, and it's going to get you fired the mother effing up. So really excited. Now let's get into it. I'll see you after this episode. Enjoy. Bye-bye, everybody. Peace. I try to forget about it. I mean, that was, I felt gutted. Yeah. All right, I'm recording right now.
Cool, it's all recording.
That's good. Are you good?
Yeah, let me just double check to make sure. Yep, I'm recording right here.
All right, cool. I still can't believe about Kobe. I mean, I keep looking up articles and stuff. I don't know if you heard the latest news, but
the daughter.
It just had to be the daughter.
Man, that shit's.
I
don't know, bro. It's like.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's just. I mean, I think both of us, obviously being who we are, we share a lot of our emotions through the internet, right? And so I think a lot of our energy is, I think, very similar. We are trying to put out good energy to the world and trying to just share our stories and whatever. But it's just one of those moments where you're like, all this other shit that I worry about, what does this even matter? I don't, it's like there's nothing I don't even know what to say in a situation like that. It's just the timing is super weird too, with LeBron just passing his points last night. And
I know that's the weird part. It's like we were just talking about him last night, or I don't know who. I'm sure everybody was. Just how kind of a big step. And then he tweeted Kobe tweeted saluting LeBron, and I'm like, oh, that just makes it even
sad, man.
Worse.
Yeah, I grew a lot more respect for Kobe in the last couple of years. Just I like when he was playing, I would see him. I mean, I grew up a Boston fan, so
right.
There's the Boston Celtics, rivalry, but I really grew to appreciate him in the last couple of years, listening to all his interviews and his podcasts, because he wasn't playing anymore. So he was, he was hopping on everybody's show, and he was just talking about his discipline and his passion for the game. And, even early on when people would be, going out to the clubs after games, he was right back in his hotel reading books or just like learning. And so I really grew to appreciate him a lot more in the last couple of years. And I consumed a lot of his interviews and a lot of his podcasts. And yeah, it's just sad, man. It's just sad.
Yeah. His work ethic was amazing.
It ain't gonna stop our energy. We gotta carry the torch.
No.
We gotta keep that energy going, man. That's what it's all about.
You are the king of energy. We're recording now, so we're all set to go. But
we're here, baby.
We're here, dude.
Yeah, we in the building.
I'm so glad we made this happen. Again, I apologize for my scheduling.
Don't
issues.
apologize. You're hustling, bro. I respect it.
I'm a hustler, but. Dude, I have to say, I don't know if people tell you this, and it might even piss you off, but I feel like you're the most underrated. You're the best podcaster of all time. Underrated podcaster of all time. I do have to say that.
That's a bold statement. What makes you think that? What makes you think that?
Because when we interviewed for the first time, and I had been on a handful of podcasts before, not too many, so I don't know how what am I trying to say?
Like the process of podcasting.
I don't know if my words hold so much value just because I haven't been podcasting for that long. But when you and I met for the first time, I just felt like what you had going on was special. And I told you that. I'm like, dude, what you got going on is special. I mean, the content was fantastic, but it was the way you made people feel, which not a lot of people know how to do. You made people feel like they were the fucking MVP. You made them feel like Kobe all the time. Yeah. And I was just like, wow, like this is such a powerful feeling. Like we were just connected. I mean, going back and forth, I just felt the emotion, the passion, the authenticity all in one thing. And that's just like a rare find. Even with all the podcasts out there right now, it's still very rare. So
I appreciate that, man. I mean, like from the jump, it was something that, at least for Purpose in the Youth, it was like, I just recognized, and I don't know if that stems back to childhood it probably does, stems back to the childhood, to the parents I was raised by, to the environment I was raised in, like all those things check off. But I just knew from the jump that if I'm going to be asking for people to come onto the show and to share their story and to be vulnerable with me and to open up, like I need to treat this very professionally, and I need to do the research, and I need to go above and beyond so that when they leave this studio, or even when the whole podcast rolls out, they feel like that was not a waste of my time. I'm so happy I was a part of that. So to me, it was always about like, I don't care about the number of plays, I don't care about the views. I don't care if this person reshares it or not. I just want them at the end of the day to leave and go, that was a great experience. It was a great conversation. It was a great experience. It wasn't a waste of my time. I want them to feel good. And so hearing that fires me up, because from the jump, I just wanted it to be something where people could share their story, they could feel comfortable, and they could just be who they were. And I think that was also the amazing part of like running a low budget in a bedroom studio of like, there's not all these lights. There's not, 16 camera operators. Like there's so much beauty in the low budget type of things, because there's not a lot of distractions. It was just me, you, and then Kirk doing the BTS. And other than that, it was just like we would shut my door 2 hours later, and that was it.
Yeah, dude, it taught me so many things because, you know, it was a low budget. We were in your bedroom. Yeah. Your bed is in the corner and we're just hashing it out right 100%. Now. And I'm like, wow, like this is the real, you got people filming. You had so many people just involved that like wanted to be a part of it. And like you brought people together and like, you know, I don't know. No one was getting paid. We're not getting paid here. We're just doing it because it's just, we're passionate about it. And like, he taught me a lot. Like, you know, you don't need the fancy studio, even though that would be incredible.
Absolutely.
It's just not needed. I mean, it was just so raw and bare, and like the podcast was just as good as a podcast with like, you know, $50,000, $100,000 setup, whatever you know, the amount is. Yeah. So
no,
that's crazy. Dude.
It's great to hear, man. I was lucky too with like Kirk and other people, Dalton and Sam Snowden, he was also he was a member of your course, and I was very lucky to connect with people where there was like this mutual understanding of like, I'm trying to build my thing, you're trying to build your thing. I think we could collaborate on something that's going to bring us both value. I don't really have the budget for it. If you're interested, like, let's try to build something together. And so I just got super lucky with those guys because I needed that content. A lot of the stuff they would help me produce, I was just an audio guy and these guys were visual. So they were able to make me look like I was bigger than I actually was. And so their content, just the behind the scenes and showing the process of people coming in and out, was just as important as the podcast itself.
Yeah. Did that surprise you? What what you were doing, bringing people together? Did you just go like, wow, like this is unreal? Because not many people have that until they reach a certain level of success. You know what I mean? Like the team.
I completely agree. I think early on I got lucky because my buddy Dylan, the artist who I live with, he was able to help me with like design. And so I've been helping him with his music career for 10 plus years. And so when I finally started a creative thing, he was able to assist me with downloading Ableton. He showed me how to operate the music software. He was able to help me design my first logo. He was able to help me and assist me. And through that relationship, I saw the beauty of what can happen when you work with other people that maybe can bring some skills that you don't bring. And I mean, it really didn't fall. I really just was doing this on my own all through Boston for that first year. And then it wasn't until I moved to LA for the September 2017, so right after a full year of podcasting, that it started to become like a team thing. I met Kirk on the first set of anything I had ever been in LA in October. And so then that relationship started building, and then all these other relationships just naturally grew. So I got so lucky, man, because, you know, I knew from the jump, like, it'd be amazing to have a team that could help me, you know, cut these clips. They could help me do subtitles. I had my man Nils out in Germany who was rocking with the podcast. I would send him clips, and he would, because of the time difference, I would send it to him at night, and I would wake up the next morning and they would be done because I would send him in Germany 9 hours ahead of time. He would make the Instagram content, send it back to me, and I'd wake up in my inbox and it was there. And I wasn't paying these guys, but I was very open and I was very honest with these guys. Like, listen, this is not paid. I'm willing to help you in any way that I can. If you believe in this just as much as me, great. And, you know, some of them were able to build bigger relationships and go on to bigger things. And it actually was great timing that I was like slowing down with Purpose in the Youth, because I still wasn't at a point where I could pay these guys. But now these guys were at a place where it's like they're actually making money with bigger projects. And, you know, maybe there was that one split second where I'm like, damn, they're leaving me to go on and do bigger things. But at the same time, I was like, no, I'm happy for them. They put in their work. They did their what they needed to do. We built something together, and now it's time for us to go out there and do what we have to do. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah. I mean, you can't do it alone. No. If you want to impact people on a large scale and really do something, and make it powerful, you can't do it alone. I tell creators all the time, because I think creators, especially filmmakers, photographers, they have such a problem with like letting their editing go, having help, because it's like their artists, it's like their craft, it's their project. It's really hard to let some of that stuff go. and yet they struggle, and they're in this trap of filming, editing, and they can't really move the needle in the direction that they actually want to go in, because they just can't. They don't have that skill of bringing people together, or they don't feel comfortable letting some of that stuff go.
Yeah,
but
I think at some point. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
My bad.
Damn it. You go.
You go. Pass me the mic. I mean, I think at some point you have to. That's the only way to scale. And I mean, if I had to put on a piece of paper and put it into a vault and open it in 5 years from now to say, I know where Zack Kravits is going to be, I know that's exactly what you're going to have. You're going to have a team of people who are helping you execute everything that you're working on a bigger scale. You're going to be doing less of like the time, maybe like you might get handed the clips of a piece that you're working on where it's like everything is trimmed of the fat. So it's like, it's not worth Zack Kravits' time to go through 10 hours of raw content. It's more with you to go through the 2.5 hours that's usable. So how do you break it down from the 10 to 2? You bring in somebody that you trust, you train them on your vision, you work with them, you trust them, you build that relationship. And that's the only way you're going to scale. The sooner people realize like team is where you scale, the faster you're just going to start moving in a lot faster pace. Because if I hadn't found these guys who were down to make Instagram content through the internet, I was not going to be producing at the speed, because each clip would take, 20 or 30 minutes, which you're like, oh, that's not that much. Well, when you're pumping out 7 clips for the week, you're talking 3 hours, 3.5 hours where I could spend reaching out to other guests, doing this, doing that. So I think the sooner any creators, I mean, especially the filmmakers, like the sooner they, I'm sure, build that team, it's like the faster you can really execute on visions.
Right. You get back to actually moving the needle. And you get back to creating the stuff, and not doing so much of the manual labor of, editing a podcast, especially
100%, but
not the most fun thing to do.
Not the most, and I still dread it to this day. But the true beauty of it is that, and I know I'm preaching to the choir for you, but hopefully somebody that hears this it's gonna connect. The beauty in actually going through the process of it all is that you understand it. So that when it's time to pass it on to somebody else, you've been there, you've done it, you put in the work. There's so much beauty in like getting in the trenches and having to figure it out for yourself, so that when it is time to patch that torch, it's not you from the outside looking in going, you got to be doing this, you got to be doing that, coming from somewhere that has never done it, versus you've already done that type of work. So it's like you can understand what they're going through, and that's exactly why you're doing the course right now. It's like you've been through all these processes that your students need help with. And it's like, if I was a filmmaker and I knew I'm trying to, get bigger clients, or I'm trying to like go from just doing this as a passion to a full scaling business, and I see somebody like you who's putting out that content, who has a course that's going to show me the steps, I know it's worth my time and money, because you've been through the process. You've been in the trenches, and you are an example of somebody who's out there actually doing it. So
yeah,
team,
Dude,
and enjoying the process of getting your hands dirty.
Yeah, I love that. Speaking of getting in the trenches, let's kind of take that back to you getting into the trenches a little bit. What made you, I don't know if I knew this, but what made you move to LA in the first place?
Dude, I think it was 5th grade. Jesse McCartney, he was on this TV show, and I think I fell in love with California. Bro, I've been trying to pinpoint what it was that got me to move to California, and I think it was Jesse McCartney on this show called Summerland or something, dude.
Get out of here. Are you serious?
Bro, I don't know what it was.
This is a joke right now.
Bro, so honestly, since probably though 5th grade, like I don't know if it was TV shows growing up or what, but I just loved the idea of Los Angeles, of California. I had a late uncle who lived up in Sacramento. And so knowing that I had a family member who had made the leap from the East Coast to the West, I was like, if he did it, I could do it. I became obsessed with California. And it took a long time to finally make the leap. It wasn't until I was 23 that I moved out here, but the timing couldn't have been better. I almost came out here for college. That didn't work out. My parents laughed at me. They're like, yeah, good luck. Didn't do it. And then when I was graduating college and I was in the process of starting the podcast, I was like, maybe I should just move to LA. And then I was like, that's the worst thing I can do, because I'm starting a podcast focused on people and I don't even know anyone in LA. So the third time was the charm. That's when I moved out here. I was 23, coming from Boston. I had just literally the day I packed up my car was the 1 year marker of Purpose in the Youth. And I was like, man, you want to talk about timing? This is the time to make the move. And so I know, I just love the energy of LA. I just love like the palm trees and like the sunshine and the energy and knowing there was no snow. I know coming from the Midwest, you feel me on that. So it's everything from the outside looking in, just everything that they show you online or in movies of what LA looks like. I was like, man, I got to get there as soon as possible.
Was it because you wanted to connect with people in LA, or did that really not have anything to do with it? That just kind of came later.
Early on, that's why it was so beautiful that the stars all aligned, because growing up all the way through up until probably my senior year of college, it was solely just on the idea of what LA was. It wasn't, I had no interest of being in movies. I had no interest in creating. I had no interest in music industry. I had nothing like that cross my path. It was just that type of energy of what LA was. I love the glitz and glamour of it. I love how there was so much entertainment out here. But dude, it wasn't until I started getting onto the creative things and I was like, wow, that's literally the greatest place to live, arguably in the States, is LA. Maybe even in the world. I mean, it's probably going to be top 5 places in the world if you're a creative and you want to live.
Yeah.
And so I was like, wow, how lucky am I? That or New York. And I was like, no way am I going to New York with the snow and the cold. So then I just let's do this. I'm going west. So I just got super lucky because LA was the place I had dreamed of living in since I was a kid. And then this is where all the work was. So I was like, let's ride, baby. Let's go.
That's so awesome, dude. Oh my God. Did you what was your plan? Like when you were driving, you drove, right? I'm assuming you drove.
Oh, you made the drive. I drove. Oh, I did the drive.
Man, from Massachusetts.
7 day. I went up to your neck of the woods. I went through Chicago and then back down. Me and my homie Evan Healy, we did like a 7 day road trip. But the plan was get out to LA and figure it all out. I had visited LA twice leading up to the year that I moved out here. I came out here twice to do some podcasting. I had some friends that I had made through like tour managing for my buddy Dylan. And so I knew moving out here, 1, I was working on a podcast. 2, I was going to be living with my homie Dylan and our third roommate Steve. So I knew where I was going to be living. I had a couple friends that were already out here. So I knew like I had some friends out here. I knew I was going to be driving Uber. I was like, okay, I know I have a way to make money. So I knew that I just needed to get out here and just figure it all out. And which is super lucky because I met a lot of people that like didn't have any friends when they moved out to LA, or they moved out here by themselves, or they just like came out here and started at zero and wanted to build their career on acting or, filmmaking. And I felt good knowing that I came out here with with a full year of podcasting straight through weekly. I was like, I have something that I can work off of. This isn't me just like starting from the ground up. And so I just knew I needed to get to LA and I'll figure everything out. And it all just slowly fell into place with time. But I definitely was ready for it for when the time came. The timing couldn't have been better for my life. So I said, let's do it.
That's interesting. But you didn't really have a plan B. You didn't really have a plan too much. You had a little bit of a plan. You knew where you were going to stay.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. Like I had the outline. I was like, I have a place with a roof over my head. I have some friends that live in LA. I'm out there and I have a way to make some money with Uber, and I'm out there to build this podcast. Other than that, no plan. There was no like, in 3 months from now, I'm going to run a YouTube channel, and 6 months from now, I'm going to start these series. LA was when the creative switch flipped for me, where I was like, it's time to there was nobody that was holding me back from just like firing it up. Like moving to LA is when I started to get in front of the camera. I started making YouTube videos in my garage of like me just like ranting on subjects. I started throwing everything at the wall. Like dude, if you want some shit, if you want to laugh sometime, just scroll back on my YouTube and just click around and watch 30-second snippets.
Oh,
you're gonna
my
be like,
God.
what the hell was this guy up to? I just kept trying everything, dude. I didn't know what to do, but I knew, watching Gary Vee, listening to his content, I knew I was like, I just got to keep throwing my stuff at the wall and try different content and seeing what works and what doesn't. And yeah, man, we should.
You gave no fucks.
No
fucks.
No fucks given. None.
Yeah. there's so much power in that, dude. There's so much power in not giving a fuck, first of all, and there's so much power in not having a plan B and not really having that much of a plan at all. I mean, literally, you just got to figure it out. You put your back up against the wall, essentially.
100%. I mean, when you moved out to LA, what did you have like any? I know you had.
Plan. I had more of a plan.
Really?
Yeah.
God bless your soul.
Well, yeah, I know. Yeah, I don't know. I was confident because I had a network out here. Yeah. I had people that I knew eventually were going to need my services, which gave me some comfort. Yeah. But my girlfriend didn't have a job. She was looking for work, so financially it was all on me. So I didn't know what was going to happen. So yeah, I mean, it was a little scary. So you figure it out, and I mean, I didn't even have my online course business go. It was just getting started. Like I didn't know what was going to happen financially. I just knew that I had money saved up, a little bit of money, but I wasn't in debt or anything. I know you you were dealing with college debt and
still am, college loans,
still
all
am.
that shenanigans.
Yeah. Oh my
still
God,
am.
dude, that's crazy.
I try not to beat myself up because I'm just like, there's nothing I can do. Like I put myself into that position, and the more time I spend like trying to beat myself up thinking about the numbers, it's like all you can do is move forward. And I know one day it's gonna get paid off. I know I'm much more. I never was stupid. I mean, growing up, maybe I was stupid with my money, would buy like clothes and stuff, but that was, I mean, through Uber, like I really learned how to live minimally, like get by, bare bones, enough to pay, rent and all that stuff. But sometimes those moments where you don't have much, once again, going back to making a studio out of the bedroom, out of my bedroom, like when you don't have much, you really find ways to make it work. And there's just so much beauty in it, because then you grow to appreciate the journey of it. And when you start to actually get some wins, you're like, I'm making this shit happen with nothing. Imagine if I had something.
Exactly.
And, I try to use that as motivation to keep creating.
That's huge. It's so key. You became resourceful. You figured shit out, and now you kind of have shortcuts. Like the more resources you get, the easier it becomes. But you can save money in certain areas. You've built an incredible network. When you put your back up against the wall, your brain just thinks so much differently, where everything is an opportunity. Like it's like seeing the Matrix, at least for me.
100%.
You know what I mean? It's like,
dude, it's so funny. Dude, it's so funny you're saying that, because I hate to say this, I just watched all 3 Matrix movies for the first time in the past week, bro. I can't believe it took me this long in my life, because I enjoy movies like that. Like I love Star Wars growing up, Lord of the Rings. I loved like everything that's like so far-fetched, and I couldn't believe it took me 3 years to actually watch this. I've been walking around the house lately, and I just go, Mr. Anderson. My roommates want to kill me now. Dude, Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Anderson. Yeah. Dude, those movies are so good.
Yeah. But no, you are completely right. You got to put your back against the wall. And I think once you do that once in your life, and you realize, like, if you put your back against the wall, you're going to find a way to make it work. It just translates to everything else that you do. And then you just get that comfort and confidence knowing, like, I don't know where I'm going right now, but I'm going to find a way to make this work.
Sure. So that's amazing. So Purpose in the Youth was born back in Boston. You moved to LA a year later, your 1 year anniversary, and then you're driving Uber, you're figuring shit out. As you were continuing to get guests and record episodes, what do you think the biggest thing Purpose in the Youth taught you?
So funny you're asking me this, because I just recorded a podcast earlier today on this question. So I'm
oh wow, that's weird.
Timing.
Holy shit,
it makes me feel so good because I know the answer.
That's amazing.
Yeah, the world has a weird way with,
dude, we live in a simulation, bro. I am telling you,
100%. I knew this question was coming, so I was like, I'm gonna do an hour podcast and talk about it. But I'm not gonna spend an hour talking about it. The biggest lesson I learned through Purpose in the Youth was the importance of consistency. That was the biggest takeaway with my own process of, like, if I stay consistent and I put out a podcast every single week for 3+ years. It's going to take me somewhere. And it was the same lesson I was learning across artists, DJs, producers, entrepreneurs, vloggers. Every single person that I would interview, the commonality was their ability to stay consistent, to get back up, to keep pushing forward, and to not let the results determine whether they keep doing something or not. That's the other thing. Is like the consistency is important, but if you're letting your results really like swayed you from doing something or not, then that's a problem. And I'm not saying like don't obviously reflect and assess where you're at and how things are going, and if like this concept isn't working, then maybe like you have to assess where you're at. But I just never stopped. I didn't care about numbers of plays. I didn't care about views. I mean, dude, if I cared about that shit, I would have gave up a long time ago. And so now it's like that's all that I look at with everything that I do within my life is if I have a goal and I'm willing to stay consistent, I know for a fact I can accomplish anything that I set my mind to. Some goals are going to take much longer than others, and some are going to be a lot quicker, but so long as I stay consistent, and I know I'm preaching to the choir with you because filmmaking has been your bread and butter, and that's like you started in college and it's just you making videos, and then it takes you this entire path of where, you know, the last couple of years of where you've been going. But as soon as you can understand that, like consistency, anything's possible. Anything you want to accomplish.
That's why you're the most underrated, man. Did you ever get that comment? I bet you got that comment all the time. Come on.
Not all the time, man. You're making me feel good. Because
that shit used to piss me off. That like because my YouTube channel that was basically my YouTube was my purpose in the youth at one point in time.
Yeah.
And the amount of comments that I got of can't wait for you to blow up, man. We'll see you at the top. Can't wait for you to blow up, man. See you at the top. I mean, it felt great after the first 50, and then the last 300 of them. You're just it really started to get old. I was like, yeah, okay, let's calm down now.
Yeah, I've always tried to just like, don't get me wrong. I have plenty of my negative thoughts. I have plenty of my bad days. I just choose to put positive energy into the world because I know that's what's going to come back to me. So I don't want anybody to hear this or listen to this and think like, oh, this guy's just super positive and that's it. And he doesn't like, he's like the one, he's the Neo. He doesn't get affected by anybody else. But truthfully, like I have plenty of my bad days. I mean, literally 3 days ago, I got home. My roommates don't even know this. They were in their rooms and I was sitting eating dinner and I literally just started crying because I was like, wow, like, I'm like, I changed my life around from where I was 3 months ago. And so, through the whole process with Purpose in the Youth, it's like, I just like, even when people would chime in like that, like, you're so underrated, like you haven't blown up yet. Part of me was like, you know what? It's giving me more time to get better at my craft. If I would have blew up at 22, 23, my mindset, my mentality, I would not be ready for that. I'm a shield now. I'm ready for it. Like you can throw all your hate, all the negativity at me. I can put that through me and it doesn't affect me as it did a couple years ago. So even in the moments where people would say, you're slept on, you're underrated, like you're not getting the plays you deserve, I just grew to appreciate like the process of like, yo, I'm just going to keep getting better. I will blow up, or I will get to these guests, or I will, do this or that. I knew there was no other option. It was like, what am I going to do? Like sit here and get pissed off that I haven't blown up yet? Like that's not going to happen. So I stayed true to myself, and I just tried to continuously find positive things that would just like keep me going. And if I would get comments like that, which I didn't get as too often, but here and there, it was like, cool, man, somebody actually gives a shit about this content. That means it's helping somebody.
True. That's true. Yeah, that's a great point. I think you nailed it. I think not quote unquote blowing up. First of all, I think that's overrated. Yeah. Quote unquote blowing up. Because
let's not blowing up right now. Let's put a fucking knife in the balloon, dude.
Yeah, let's put a knife in that shit. What was I gonna say?
Blowing up. It's under.
I think it's overrated because first of all, the impact that you can make with just 500 people, 1,000 people. I mean, you were talking to people on such a deep level, and I'm sure you were able to connect with so many people in your DMs and, just the comments that you got, you were able to connect on such a deeper level. Number one. And I just see a lot of people that have a huge audience. I just see a lot of them lost. There's just a lot, it was kind of them, not that they were given that audience, but especially if it were to happen fast, well, it's like you kind of don't learn how to really support yourself because people are giving you stuff like sponsor, we want to sponsor you. We want to pay you this. We want to pay you that. And then, as as Instagram kind of dies down with organic growth, you're starting to see these people that just kind of blew up fast. You kind of see them like nervous because, they're not getting the reach that they used to get. And if Instagram dies, like they're going to have to get a job or figure something else out. And it's like, when you don't blow up or you don't, receive an audience super fast, you really start to learn so many useful tools that you'll always be able to survive and grow, no matter what the market does, whatever Instagram
100%.
does, whatever the podcasts do. Yeah, there's a lot to be said about that. At least for,
you don't want to blow for the wrong reasons too.
That's true. Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like, okay, me and you could go out this afternoon and create one of those videos where like I run up to a stranger and I throw a cake in their face and it does 2 million reshares, and then I'm known as the guy who threw the cake in a random person's face, and now I have 100,000 people following me for cake throwing, and then I have 5,000 for the true authentic content that I like to create. So it's like, are you creating to blow up? Okay, you're going to be known for that. Or are you creating authentic content where it's like, you stand by this shit? I'd rather the latter and create the shit that like I stand by. Like, I know that I have somebody from the outside, and we talked about this on our podcast, and I know from the outside looking, and I loved your line. It was right around the time we did the podcast, and you're like, it was the filmmaker rollout piece with the Audi, and I don't remember the quote unquote, but you're like, now some of you might see me from my audience and think I'm not successful or something. I don't know. It gave me the cringe. It was the YouTube video with you with the Audi you rent out in Beverly Hills.
Oh yeah.
But I love that because it's like we see a number and we just immediately have these assumptions like, oh, this person only has X amount of followers, like they can't be that popping. But it's like, I know for the people that follow me, they are true. They are authentic. They know me at the core. They will stand behind my back. And I would rather 5,000 of a strong audience that gives a shit, that will, when I say jump, they ask how high, than 100,000 people that just like don't care. They like see my face. They don't even know who I am. So it's like, I would much rather like a true core audience than anything else, than
I totally
some
agree.
number of blow up that would get you or something like that.
I totally agree. There is still, I still look at people's profiles, and the first thing I do without even realizing I'm doing it is to look at how many followers they have. That's just we all do that.
All do. 100%.
And what I try not to do, I realize that I'm doing that. I'm like, okay, take a chill, like, whatever. But what I do now, which I think is almost more important, is who is following that person. Because if they have 500 followers, but Barack Obama is following them, The Rock is following them, who, I want to know that guy. You know what I mean? So I think there's something to be said about that. That's very powerful, and your network is massive. So
yeah.
And in that sense, at least.
When Instagram came out with that update, when it showed who else that you follows that person, game changer. Because I completely agree. When I would come across accounts, even to this day, where they don't have the craziest number of following, but they have like 10 or 15 people that I respect and appreciate, who is this person now? Now I'm even more intrigued, not because of the number of followers, it's who is following them. I want to know why. So yeah, it is interesting. It's nice being the underrated, not having 100,000 followers, because I like flying under the radar, man. People might not know me on the street. They might not, I might not have the craziest subscribers, followers, or whatever, but the people are paying attention. It's like, I'll take the quality of those people versus the quantity of what other people might have for their followers.
All day long. All day, baby. Yeah. All day. I think, that's so powerful. Speaking of networking, I want to talk about how you did your networking and how you were able to get some of the guests on your podcast, because I know creators that are listening to this podcast, they always are told, oh, networking is so important. They're getting sick of hearing that, but they want to know, how do I network? How do I get drama on my podcast? And, you know, all these different people, how do I connect with these people? What kind of strategies did you do? What were you thinking about when you reached out to these people?
Yeah.
What was kind of your thing?
Yeah. Networking is such a hard thing to dive into because there's so many different angles and it's so hard to really like give somebody the best advice. A couple things would be, one, from the very jump, I've tried to be very authentic, right? So like when I'm communicating with, for instance, with Drama, that was a cold email. I sent him a very brief email, and I made sure every word count. I made sure there wasn't like this whole book on like why he should be doing it. I wasn't trying to sell it. I was there to present who I was, why I do this podcast, and why I wanted him. I think with networking is you got to be super patient. So I build relationships based on the person that I'm building a relationship for who they are. I'm not building that relationship because I'm like, all right, if I build that relationship with them, I'm going to wait like 2 months and then I'm going to hit them up and then they're going to get me to this person. That is the biggest red flag. I build the relationship based on who that person is, what they represent, and more so the energy that they're putting into the world. And so when I would build these relationships, we would establish a relationship, like Drama, for instance. That was a relationship that established, the podcast rolled out, and I never hit him up after that. There was, I think, a couple occasions I would run into him at like an event in LA, and I would just go up, say what's up, and not make a big deal, and just recognize like that was a thing we did. It was a great podcast. It completely helped me grow my career, but I'm not going to sit there and act like I'm best boys with him. I'm not going to hit him up every week and be like, yo, bro, like, what are you doing tonight? Like, I just understood like he's in a different space in his life. I'm in a different space, but like, awesome. We built something together. And so I've tried to do that with a lot of these people. And what's interesting is a great, I think somebody had said in a podcast to me before, when you just, and I know, once again, I'm preaching to the choir with you, Zach, when you just go all in on yourself, right? And you wish for the best for other people, but you just solely focus on building your craft and your career, and you do everything you got to do. What happens is people see you putting in the work, and they see how relentless and how hard you're working, that they want to help, right? And so they're going to help when they see the right opportunity, or the timing is great in their life where they can help. And the best way to look at it is when you're driving on a highway and there's a car pulled on the side of the road with the hood up, nobody stops. We see that somebody clearly needs help, but nobody stops their car. Everyone keeps going. They got a million things going on with their life. But there's a difference. If you drove by that same car and somebody was on the back of that vehicle and was trying to push it, was trying to move it off the lane or get it out of the middle of the intersection, it's amazing how many people stop, they get out of their car, and they help that person. And I think that's literally exactly how everyone else is in this world. When you see somebody that's really putting in the work, has been super patient, isn't overstepping themselves, and is trying to move their car, or who is trying to move their career, other people want to help. And that's what happened to me. Like, I got in with some really early relationships early on. I didn't ask for shit in return. I just let my work do the talking, and I just kept pushing, and people would send me lobs. I would never ask for them. They would be like, yo, I got this guy. He would be a great fit for the podcast. I'd be like, yeah. There was one I'll never forget. It was after I had connected with his filmmaker. His name's Jeremiah Davis, that one blonde kid on Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
Great guy. Just he works with like the Chainsmokers, super successful. And so we built a relationship, and I just let it sit. Like 3 or 4 months later goes by. I'll never forget. It was a Saturday morning. I wake up, check Instagram, and he had DM'd me at like 3 a.m. I'm like, what the hell is he DMing me at 3 a.m.? And I click on it, and he's like, yo, Bobby. And he had connected another guy in it named Blake Pinsker. He's like, yo, this is my boy Blake Pinsker. He's the marketing director at Movement. And I was like, oh, word? I was like, I know who Movement is. He's like, yo, he would be a great person for a podcast. You got to connect with him. And then Blake had chimed in and said, yo, let's connect. And in that moment, I was just like, holy shit, I didn't ask for that. I sure as hell was so thankful for the opportunity. But once again, it was all because I just kept putting in the work. I kept pushing my car. And I think people rocked with it or wanted to see me succeed with it, and they would throw me lobs when they could. And I just tried to do my best of like, it's on me to create these opportunities, and it's on me to just like stay focused and stay in my lane. And when the world wants to give me the right opportunity, I'll be ready for it.
Yeah. Dude, it's so key to not ask for anything. It's so key.
It's so hard to do, my man. It's like, hard to do, but you got to just.
Yeah. I mean, the amount of time that, I'll get at, and I'm sure so many other filmmakers and just content creators in general, maybe even you too, they'll ask me to just shadow, and just, watch what I do. But that takes so much time from me doing what I need to get done, because there's obviously going to be conversations.
100%.
They're going to be asking questions, and that just takes energy away from me and, whoever else deals with that. Instead of them seeing what I'm doing, oh, he could probably use this because he's doing this right now. They did a little bit of research, and then they say, hey, I can do this really well. I would love to provide this for you for free.
Yes.
Hand it on a silver platter. Boom, There you go. Then I'm going to say, yeah, actually, I do need that. Come on over.
That same person that's asking to shadow you should, if they're a filmmaker, they really should be thinking, I'm not going to ask him to shadow him. I'm going to ask him, Zach, do you need any behind the scenes content? I'd love to come shoot for you.
Yeah.
Because they're going to get exactly what they want, which is to see behind the scenes of what you're doing. They're going to be able to create a product. They're going to be able to give you value. And so then the relationship, it's like planting the seed. Then that's just going to continue to grow.
Sure. Yeah. Just don't ask. Don't ask for anything. No. Just serve. If
you're going to ask, you got to be very cautious. I think that's the other thing is like, you just got to be very, in the way you communicate that ask, man, you got to be really cautious. Like, I definitely have had people go out of left field and ask me some favors, and I'm all down. I want to help people. But if the way you approach it is not professional, and we're not like homies or something, and you're just like, complete, like it's just so far-fetched, I'm like, I don't know what to say. Sometimes I just let it sit and let it marinate. But if you're gonna ask, you just got to make sure you calculate it, and you got to communicate it right, and be very like, hey Zach, big fan of you, would love to shoot behind the scenes content of you. And I don't know, you gotta be very cautious with how you communicate with people.
Compliment. Yes. Find a mutual friend or a mutual thing that you have in common. Make the ask, and then finish it with a compliment. Make it a 100%. Sandwich, and then send it off. Make it a 100%. Compliment sandwich.
That might be the next course right there. The compliment sandwich.
There you go. No, that's what I do offer that. I do teach that. Not like, I don't say that in depth, but that's just something that I do talk about, because I've seen a lot of success with that. Lewis Howes actually talks about that a lot. That's where I got it from.
The
how he'll ask somebody to come onto his podcast. He'll compliment. He'll find some sort of mutual friend. He'll find a mutual friend. Hey, like, you and I both know this person. Like, I love this guy. Blah blah blah. Then he'll find like, oh, we also play football. Blah 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 blah. And then he'll be like, you should come onto the podcast because this, and I want to promote you and serve you and you. Thought it'd be really fun. I like what you're doing. Peace. Yeah. That's kind of what he does. Yeah.
Smart man.
Short and sweet. He's a smart man.
No, that's definitely too. The short and sweet ask. That's the other part too, is getting right down to what you're looking for, and not try to write this whole book around just that one question you're looking to ask.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. I like that. Don't write a book, dear God.
We don't got time to read novels out here, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. Did you have a lot of insecurity when you were bringing like a high level guest into your bedroom? Was that tough for you initially, or no? You didn't give a shit.
I didn't give a shit, bro.
I loved it. Fuck.
I loved it, bro. And I wouldn't even. I would let it be on the guest's responsibility to figure out that it was in a bedroom beforehand, and if not, they would find out on the spot. I never would say like, by the way, it's in my bedroom. Nothing. I was like, if they do any research, they're gonna figure out very quickly this is in my bedroom, because I was making sure, whether it was behind the scenes content, whether it was like every so often before a podcast, I would shoot like, yo, I'm in the bed, Rudy, I'm cooking up. I would just be authentic and I would own it and I would show people like, yo, my bed is right there. So I didn't get, bro, Zach, I really did not give a shit that I was running that shit out of my bedroom. I will say this though, the biggest moment of my podcasting career, I was tested. And I was so happy that I got myself out of the problem. It was during Drama's podcast. 10 minutes in, lights out, electricity went out. This is the middle of the day, and it all goes out. And it was and my heart rate starts going through. And I'm like, okay, time to problem solve. And I'm like, hey, sorry about that. Let me just figure this out. So I like asked my roommates. All the lights out are in the house. I'm like, okay, what's option B? There's no way I'm canceling this. There's no way I'm gonna try to reschedule this. Cool. Thank God living in California, took the blinds off, opened up the natural light of LA. Luckily, the GoPro was charged up. My laptop was charged up. And we just rode through the rest of the podcast without the bright lights of the studio lights. And then there was no light on the actual neon sign. But thankfully, he rolled with it. And he actually, because of the BTS, we have the entire moment. And he actually ate it up. He's like, this is what I love. He's like, we're not in some big budget studio. We're not on a high level budget. We are in your bedroom and this is the shit. He's like, this is what I love to see. And so he embraced it. He definitely could have like been aggravated or just like pissed off or like, this is a waste of my time. But
sure,
he embraced it with me. And man, that was a hell of a day having the lights go on the biggest podcast in my career.
Yeah, I'm sure he has so much fucking respect for you. I think anybody, I mean, I do, you know what I mean? Because so many people don't do what you do, and that's own it. You made it part of the fucking brand. You know what I mean?
Part of the story.
It's like
podcaster by day, Uber driver by night, bro. I had this shit down to a science.
It was, I mean, it's brilliant, honestly.
But let's not just toot my horn, bro. You're very authentic, and you've owned your own career and your own story, and through the content and the energy you're putting out there to the world. So I want to, we've obviously have discussed this in the podcast we did, and then definitely in the group episode, and then probably just through DMs here and there before. But like, you are a great representation of somebody who owns who they are, who is vulnerable, who has shared their own story. And so, I appreciate the credit, and I love that. It makes me feel fucking great because it's, being recognized for like putting that energy out there to the world, but you do it just as much as I do. So
I appreciate that. Well, like-minded people connect, and they make dope shit. Yeah.
Shout out to Dalton Misner if he hears this, because he's the one that really got me to like really pay attention to who you were. And
really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was.
I love Dalton, man. What a great guy.
He's a hustler.
Love that kid.
He's gonna be a savage as he continues to move on with his career. But he had moved out with me for the month of June, and I was in the time just looking for new podcast people, and I was like, who should I podcast with? And he threw me your account, and I started looking at your story, and then it was because of him that I didn't really know of your story, know much about you, and he had shared your story and your page, and the rest is history. That's when I sent the Hail Mary DM, and
that's crazy, man.
Some magic happened a couple weeks later.
I think I just saw one video of you, and just like, hey, it's Bobby, bearded Bobby, whatever.
Probably
I'm just like,
over the
sign
top,
me
bro.
up, sign me up. I want to be around this.
Who is this guy with a beard and claims to be the world's favorite? I don't know who he is, but let's see what he's cooking up.
Dude, man, that hate comment that you got. Remember you posted that like a few days ago.
That. I love that,
dude. I read that. I'm like, oh man, this guy. I mean, my initial reaction was like, yo, fuck this guy, right? But
yeah,
it's he's a hurt individual, man. He's a hurt person. It's tough.
I
love
the arena. I was talking to Brandon Cohn. He's the founder of Liquid I.V, and I was talking to him the day after it, and I had told him that the arena story, how we had a podcast, and you had talked about how don't listen to anybody that isn't in the arena giving you advice or giving you hate. That they don't have the right to be passing that on, but when I read that feedback, that review, there was 3 seconds, maybe 3.5, where I was like, damn, this actually hurts. And then I very quickly, and I think that's just been through if I had read that 3 years ago, it probably would have broke me. But because of all this self-development I've been diving into for the last couple of years and meditation and just like, I just was like, wow, this, I appreciate this person for being honest with me, but it doesn't affect me because this is somebody who clearly knows a lot about me. The way they wrote the description of this comment, they knew a lot about me, which means they've consumed a lot of my content, which is what I put out there to the world. And so everyone's entitled to their opinion. And I was like, man, the best way to fight this back is to just send love. And I knew posting that on social media that it would go ham. I didn't expect it to go as crazy as it did, but
yeah,
I had a
you have
cousin
a lot
of
of people in your corner, bro.
Well, that's what the quality over quantity.
That's right.
People that actually care. So it was it got me fired up, man. It was okay. It doesn't faze me.
I
keep
know.
moving. Keep going.
It's always hard, but then you remind yourself of the arena and all those things you learn in personal development. It helps a lot.
Where did you learn that from? Or where did you get that idea from?
It was Brene Brown. You know Brene Brown?
Wow. Yeah.
Motivational speaker.
Well, you're right. I now remembering you quoting him or something. I think you had credited him when we talked about it in the podcast.
Her. Quoted her.
Sorry.
Whatever. I didn't really hear that. No. I personally, I didn't really know much about her until my girlfriend. She was watching a documentary of hers on Netflix, and I literally just caught that moment. Again, simulation moment here. But yeah, I caught that moment. I'm like, oh my god, that is the most obvious thing I've ever heard, and yet I've never thought about it in that way.
Yeah,
but it's so true. You know,
yeah.
if you're playing basketball, Joe Schmo from the stands is telling you can't shoot a jump shot. That just should not affect you unless it's Michael Jordan in your face saying, "Hey man, your jump shot sucks." Then you got to listen. You know what I mean? You got to listen to that.
I know.
But
so much
so
beauty
true.
when you can learn to just not to give a fuck about what other people are saying.
Yeah,
like appreciate the good love and the cheering, but like if it's not moving you forward, you just got to put it in one ear and out the other as quick as possible.
Yeah, easier said than done. You got to put in the reps.
Easier said than done, but you got to put in. It's like reps. It's like going to the gym. You just got to learn to just deflect those comments and know that should not affect the way you create or the way you put your energy into the world and chase after the things that you want to do with your life. I feel bad for people like that because they have too much time that they're spreading negativity, that it's like, I think you're the issue and you need to go look at yourself in the mirror and realize, wow, I don't have my own shit figured out, so I have to put it out on other people. And that's unfortunate. That's why I ended when I posted the guy's his comment on my Instagram, I said at the end of it, I said, I'm sending you all the love that I got because I know inside that's coming from a negative place. And I feel bad for people like that. I really do.
Hurt people. And it's so true. Yeah. So he's probably, he's got something going on right now. Wasn't having a good day, but that's all good.
Wasn't having a good day, but I hope him the best.
Yeah.
I hope him the best.
Let's kind of dive into a pivotal moment in your career. I think you know where I'm going with this. A bit of a transition. You some say you quit. I don't know if some people said that, but maybe some people have said you just quit Purpose in the Youth, switched over to Liquid I.V, but essentially you got a job and you put Purpose in the Youth and you put it to the side and you let it rest for a little bit. What did you just hit a breaking point and you were like explain like the process of you talking to Brandon Cohen and
simulation, bro.
Simulation. Talk to me about the simulation.
So there have been two creative managers that I have been like bouncing off of for like the last year and some change leading up to this moment. Reese Hopper, who manages Jeremiah Davis, that one blonde kid, and then Zach Conavar, who manages Yes Theory. So these were two guys. Once again, I built relationships with these guys and I, just let it grow naturally. But they were definitely people that I would, bounce ideas off of. They were there to support me, and super grateful for both these individuals. And it was in October, end of September, of 2019 that, I was, I did definitely 2019. I was every couple episodes I would like get like something I really wanted for a podcast. And then it was just kind of like, I feel like I was just checking off the box, and it was definitely I was feeling burnt out, but I just kept going. And so towards the end of September, I had put something up on my Instagram. I live by this philosophy of like, you got to keep punching the bag. You got to just keep punching the bag, and with time, with repetition, consistency, things are going to work out. Zach Conovar chimes in, and he said, keep punching the bag, but change the punch. And I was like, that's a great way to look at it. And so
I love that.
I was like, what do you mean by that? And he's like, he was out of town at the time. He's like, come by my office and we'll talk about it when I'm back. So fast forward like 2 weeks later, I go to his office, and I meet with him and a couple other people on his team. And so we literally on a whiteboard, we draw out my life. We financially, what are you doing? You're driving for Uber. This is how much you're making a year. Okay. On the side, we have podcasting. This is your YouTube subscribers. We've laid out my life on the board. And so honestly, we started just diving into it. And I don't remember the question that Zach asked me. And one of those moments where everything just flashed before me, and I started bawling my eyes out. Like, I was just like, dude, I really don't know what to do. I've been doing this for over 3 years. I've been driving for Uber for 3 years. I've been putting in the work. I feel that I've continuously gotten better as a podcaster. I feel like, I'm getting higher caliber guests, but like, it's just not clicking. And so Zach on his whiteboard, he goes, all right, this is what I think you need to do. First off, number one priority, you need to figure out how to get out of Uber as soon as possible, because driving around is not helping you build as a creator. It's just not helping you.
It's not
inspiring, but like, it's just not. It's gotten you by for 3 years, but you got to make a change. That needs to be your number one priority. Number two, you got to figure out, like, is there other ways to go about this podcast? Could you rebrand? Could you potentially like change it up a little bit? Like, start thinking that through. So I leave, and I'm like, I'm like, okay, this makes sense. I need to figure this out. So I'm like, I'm going to put the podcast on pause, and I'm going to figure out Uber, and I'm going to take a break. Timing was great. I had one more podcast I was recording that week, which was giving me 3 weeks to roll out podcasts, and then I was stopping, and I didn't make an announcement. I didn't say anything. Just so happens, 3 days after I meet with Zach, I go home for a vacation. So I'm home. I draw out an entire outline of rebranding the podcast. It was gonna be a different name, and I'm gonna keep that in the vault, and I'll tell you offline, because maybe one day this might be another chapter. But like, I'm talking everything, bro. I outlined this entire new show, and I was like, okay, cool. Now I gotta figure out how do I get out of Uber. And so I'm back home for like 7 to 10 days for a charity golf tournament, for a wedding. So there's we're having fun, but at the same time, in the back of my mind, I'm like, yo, I got to figure this shit out. Like, I'm supposed to be having fun with my family, but like, this is killing me knowing that when I get back to LA, I have to face this monster of like, what are you doing?
I remember that.
And so get back to LA, the first night out of Ubering. This is the first day back in LA. I think the next day when I got back, I went out and Ubered, and I got home. And this shit I fucking still can't believe this. I get home, I park in my driveway, and a lot of times since Ubering, I would do like these end of the night recaps. Just got back from slaying, blah, 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 whatever.
Yeah.
And I just said to my Instagram, and I almost didn't post it, but I was like, I just gotta put it out there to the world. I have to tell the world. And I grabbed my phone and I said, listen, by the end of this year, by the end of 2019, so this is first week October, by the end of this year, by 2020, I need to be off the Uber grind, and I need to be doing something else that's really fulfilling me, that's helping me like live. Like, maybe I'm not at the point where I can be living full time off of my creating, but like, I need to make that transition. And this was right around the time I had even hit you up about like, yo, do you have any advice about creating a course? And I was reaching out to, this was like one of those times where I was like, I need to start asking. So I remember I reached out to you. I reached out to other creators that like are scalable right now. And I'm like, how can I bring you value? Do you want me to edit your podcast? Like, do you want me to make your Instagram content? I was like, I will do whatever it takes to get off of Ubering. And I started throwing out all these ideas. So now when I'm back Ubering, I say that, I wake up to a DM from Brandon Cohen, the founder of Liquid I.V, past podcast guest, past group episode guest, past What They Don't See guest, a YouTube series that I had ran. And he's like, yo, do you have any, are you free tomorrow to hop on a call? And so he's one of those guys that I've built a great relationship with through the podcast. But like, once again, you let these relationships marinate. We never were like, I think I'd see him have some big successes. I'd shoot him a text, congrats, that was it. He would throughout, since I had met him in August of 2018, every so often he would chime into my Instagram and just say like, keep going. Like, he was always showing love, always supporting. And when I saw this DM, awesome, bro, I was like, this is something. Like, he's not just going to hit me up like this. And I was like, I know he saw my Instagram. I went back and like looked, and I was like, he saw my Instagram story. So I was like, yeah, whatever you need, what time, cool, let's set up a call. And I get on the call with him the next day, and he's just like, he had just gotten back from being on Gary V's pod. So I was like, before we talk about anything, I was like, how is fucking New York, bro?
Yeah.
You're with Gary V. And he's like, oh, it was great, man. Talking to Gary, he's an investor with Liquid I.V.
Sure.
He's just like getting on me about building out like a media team. And when he said that, I was like, okay, what's he hinting at? And so, and then he's like, yo, I'm actually like, I just brought on a full-time videographer, and I'm kind of looking for somebody to help like produce and like get this thing going. And I saw your Instagram and didn't know if this is something you'd want to do. And I just was like, bro, honestly, like, we don't even know the true details of everything, but like, I'm in. I was like, it was one of those moments. It's something that I had read in a book called The Surrender Experiment, where you have to sometimes just like surrender to what life is putting in front of you. And I was like, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is what I need to do to get out of Ubering. And so a couple phone calls later, we lock in and like an actual contract, or like me being a full-time employee. And it was the timing of me stopping the podcast. The following week was going to be the start week of my job. And so I was like, I'm going to continue to stop this podcast. I'm going to go all in on Liquid I.V. And if I need to go back to this podcast at some point, I will. And so the timing was great. Stopped podcasting. Next week started, a job with Liquid I.V. I promoted with Purpose in the Youth. That show's going on pause. It wasn't, I'm done. It wasn't, I'm giving up. It was just, I need to figure out my shit. And through that process, I did a lot of reflecting for like 2 months of just having a lot of free time to myself. And I was like, it's technically still on pause, but I was like, I don't have the time and the resources to do that right now. But I wanted to, continue to share my voice. And that's why I started another podcast. But ultimately, it was the world gave me the opportunity that I needed. And to me, it was no questions asked. I have to jump on this. And it's still like, bro, it's crazy to me how things just kind of happen. And I'm just like thankful for it. I mean, this company is just, it's more than a product. It's more than a water additive company brand. I'm technically, like, if you want to talk title wise, I'm a content producer for Liquid I.V, but I'm building content around the team and around him. But I mean, I've been going through content from 2012, 2013 when he was a one-man team. And like, thankfully he has vlogs of him. And this man has been so passionate about changing the world from the jump that I just was like, man, I couldn't have asked for a better opportunity. And it changed my life. It changed my life in a flick of a switch. And I have never been so much more clear in my head and so much more relaxed and actually just like living my life and just enjoying it. And dude, it feels fucking fantastic.
I remember when you got the job, there was just a different aura around you, that your energy, even though you always have great energy, sometimes like when you're on Instagram, it almost not, I don't want to use the word forced, but but it wasn't free flowing, like once you get landed that job, it was like, I just saw you like, just like all this weight just kind of just dropped, and you were just like, oh, like it was like a fucking splinter
dude,
in your neck.
Seriously. Yeah.
Like a 1-inch splinter in your neck that just got released, or like a massive pimple.
Oh, it was just with Uber, you're just chasing money, bro. I mean, I loved it. I completed my career with 19,002 rides. I forever will be thankful for Uber and whatnot, but like, just to be able to financially know that I have something coming in continuously is just like, that's always the biggest thing with everything is like you're just worried about how we get to fund this, how we get to pay for this, and knowing that I have something coming in, it allows me to stop fucking worrying about that, and like now I can just create. I can like, it's like the greatest for any creator. It's like the best blessing in the world where like you can wait. I mean, I'm sure that's the greatest feeling, right? When you're waking up every day and you know you're in control of your destiny. You are completely in control right now because it's like you've set up things that allow you to financially sustain yourself so that you're not sitting there worrying about paycheck to paycheck. You're just like, what's the bigger picture? You keep working towards this bigger vision. And so since getting the job, it's allowed me to just focus on my bigger vision where it just feels so good, man. Like I woke up this morning, bro. I literally, before I got out of bed, I was just laying there for a while, like an hour, just like reflecting and just thinking about everything. And it's like, man, for 3 years, every Sunday I would get up at the ass crack of dawn and usually be on the road by like 7, 8 o'clock. And I would drive till 5-ish or whatever every Sunday. And man, it's like when you have that time to just like relax and decompress, it's just so nice, man. It still trips me up thinking about it because 3 months, bro. 3 months is not a long time. Not a long time. And so to think it changed that quickly for me, shit can really change pretty fast for anybody. And you got to I talked about earlier today on the podcast recording, you got to just convince yourself that if today's not the day, it'll be tomorrow. And if tomorrow's not the day, it'll be the day after that. And the only thing you can do is just worry about in this moment, wherever you are, what can you do right now? What's the 1, 2, or 3 things today that you can do that's going to put you in a better position?
Yeah. You were in peace. I mean, well, you are in peace now.
Much better.
You playing video games and just kind of like just hanging out.
I already retired that. I went through a weird.
I know, but that's important though. I mean, not all the time, but you gotta find that joy and that passion and just fucking chill.
Balance.
It's so important.
That was the biggest lesson for me, balance, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, that's something that's one of my big goals for this year. I've talked about it on my podcast already where I schedule play before I schedule work. And I have to work around my play. And
daily, weekly, or how do you determine? I'm going into next week.
Well, for example, like I have 4 big trips and I'm already booking plane tickets. So it's forcing me to go. You know what I mean? So little things like that. And I'm still working on the week to week stuff. I've got the big stuff, but now I'm working like what can I do this weekend that's really gonna just, get me away from work and really just have fun. Because I mean, if we're focused on work all the time, it's just, you can't sustain it. You just can't. And you just, do you find that you have to pick, like, do you treat a lot of the things for your own business that you kind of treat it like a job where you force yourself to work certain hours of the day, or do you more of just go with the flow and see like, you know what, I've had enough for today. It's time to go watch a movie. It's time to relax. Or are you like, listen, I'm going to work today from 10 a.m. till 6 p.m. and wherever I'm at 6 p.m., it's time to move on to the next thing. Yeah, it's a little mix of both because, I think it's important to kind of listen to your body because, you're an entrepreneur, you make up your own schedule. And a lot of it is you have to create when you're feeling inspired. Sometimes like, if I have an idea, I'll just go and start recording a podcast so I don't lose the idea. I didn't plan for it, but like it's happening. It's coming out of me right now. I gotta flip that record button now before I lose it. I've already done that enough times where I was like, I'm going to do it in my, my 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. window for the pod. It just doesn't work. You gotta kind of you gotta record, you gotta create when you feel inspired. But for the most part, other than that, I like to have routine and a pretty strict schedule, or else I'll go nuts.
One weird thing that I love is understanding how people operate, because I think the real key is everyone that listens to podcasts, or like everyone's trying to find like the secret. They're trying to understand like, what's the inspiration hack? What's the creative hack? What's the like what is it that I need to do that's going to allow me to like operate at my highest potential? The thing is, you got to figure out what works best for you, because what works for Zack Kravits, what works for me, what works for my roommates, everybody's different. And it really is so interesting to me because everyone's different, man, but we all find ways to make it work. So it's like, I know I'm a morning person. Both my roommates are not. I know that I'll be tucked into bed almost at least weekday nights. I'm tucked in bed by 10 p.m. They're up till 1 a.m. I know that I need to go to the gym first thing in the morning. They don't go until maybe 10 p.m. at night. So it's like, you got to just find what works best for you. And so I think as long as you continuously, and obviously you've been doing this, you just find what works for you. If that's perfect, where you're like, you got the inspiration, go do it, then perfect. If you're somebody that likes the 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., then, schedule it out. But I have this weird thing where I love to hear like what works for people, because I think there's no wrong or right way. You just have to find like what's the best routine and way to do it for you.
You have to design your life. It's a video game. You design it however you want, whatever works 100%. For you. It's the reason why Gary V is Gary V. And I've been lucky enough to meet some very wealthy people, and I know a female. Her goal last year when I met her, her goal was to work 15 hours a week. She's a multimillionaire. That's what she wants to do, and she's going to do it. And I'm just like, wow, that's great. I mean, if you can find one outlier that's doing whatever it is that you want to do, you can do it. If one person is doing it, it just takes one person. Yeah. Find that person. Yeah. Do it.
Use them as the example.
Yeah.
Use them as an example.
Yeah. Gary is Gary because that's who he wants to be. It's not going to work for everyone. It doesn't work for me. I take what I need to take from him, but all the other stuff, I let it go over my head because I know that's just not good for me. That's it.
Easy.
That's it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that's so important. It's powerful.
I agree.
Anyways, back to you now.
Don't make me throw up.
Yeah. Man, yeah. Talking about yourself, that's something I had to learn how to do. But so Liquid I.V, do you, Brandon said, I don't know him that well, but what I've heard about him, he's an amazing, amazing person. Was he your first real mentor for you? Or have you had mentors in the past? Like a real one that you can call and be like, hey, I'm feeling this way. I'm feeling kind of shitty. Just wanted to vent it out, and, it'll help you out.
That's a great question. The thing is, I don't even, before, now that I have like the relationship that I have with him, it's obviously much different, and I could pick up the phone and call him, and I know he's going to pick up, which is it's amazing feeling, knowing, because I really believe in him, and I just love the energy that he puts out to the world. But before him, it goes back to like Zach. It goes back to like Zach Kravits or Reese Hopper, or even my roommate Dylan. I've never had like that official like, oh, he's my mentor and I could call him for any type of help. It really has always just been people that are within my circle that I know if I need business advice, I should probably call Zack Kravits, or I should call Reese Hopper. I need design advice, I should probably talk to my buddy Dylan. Or I think that's the way I've kind of looked at it. Now working with Brandon, it's and even that role, my role within the company has changed, because when I first got there, I was reporting directly to him. And then because of everything that's happening with the company, and what we're doing isn't essentially helping the company at this very moment, it just wasn't working with his schedule. So we had to shift myself and my buddy Jamie, who I work with, who's the in-house videographer, lead content creator. We had to kind of file in, and now we report directly to marketing. So even that relationship has changed, where it was like I was in daily meetings with him, to now it's like I don't have meetings with him, but I get, I still see him every day. So even that was like a little bit of adjustment for me, because I was like, damn, I took this. It wasn't that I wouldn't have taken the job, but it was like I came into this job knowing I was reporting directly to the guy that I'm inspired by, and now I'm working for somebody else who's just as talented and is extremely smart with what she does. But it was like, wow, like that's what I wanted. I wanted to work for him. So yeah, I don't know. I think I've been fortunate to just have a handful of people around me that like have served as great mentors, but there's never been more of like a mentorship where I was like, this is my mentor. I can call them for anything. It's just been really friends of mine, and I've definitely tried to pay it forward to like people like Kirk or people like Dalton or like Sam who have helped me a lot, and I see what they're going through and I try to give them advice and not try to be like their father figure, but I'm just like, listen, I've been there, I've done that. Like, this is my advice. If you want to like go do your thing and send it, like, please do it. But this is what I have to offer to you. So they're all great people and they're all great mentors for the people that I have bounce ideas off of. But Brandon specific, he's just, he's an incredible individual, like just extremely passionate about what he does. And I think a lot of times in the internet, we see people that like promote, oh, well, I run this business and we give back and we do this and we do that. And you're like, it seems a little unauthentic. You're probably just doing that because it gets you more sales. Yeah. I can promise you that this guy, if it came down to it, he wants to save the world before he wants to save himself. And,
wow,
and it's inspiring to work for somebody that is that passionate about what he does.
Wow. You don't meet many people like that.
Nope. But once again, this is a simulation, Zach.
Wow,
so
man.
It's like I'm just gonna take what the world's giving me, and I'm gonna run with it for as long as I can.
Absolutely. Where do you see yourself? I don't know. This might make you uncomfortable. Who knows? But
please,
where do you see Liquid IV as a part of your journey? Is it a just a pivot, just a swing? Just a
great question.
I don't know what I'm trying to say, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, a pit stop.
Pit stop.
A little pit stop.
Yeah. Just to
I mean,
rest a little bit. Catch your breath.
I have really grown to like not allow myself to get too caught up in thinking about the future and like am I going to be with Liquid IV for the next 5 years, 10 years? Like, even when I was going through the process of accepting the job, I wrote on a piece of paper like the pros and the cons. And the pros, it was like 10 pros and there were 2 cons. And I was like, this is a no-brainer. I have to take this. So to me, with joining with this company, at the timing of joining, it couldn't have been better. This is going to be an incredible year for them. So the way I look at it is like, I'm going to ride this train until the next thing pops up or it doesn't make sense anymore. Could be for the year, could be 2 years, could be 5, could be a whole lifelong career. I'm open to wherever the world takes me. And, I love that. I think it's really good to have a vision for what we want to do with our careers and our lives. And I know at heart, I want to be a creator. I want to share my voice with the world through visuals, through audio, through pictures. As long as I continue to do that, whatever is the engine, I want to be a part. I'll drive it. So right now it's Liquid IV. That's my number one priority before any of my own personal content. And I'm completely okay with that because of the opportunity and just kind of the things that we have going on in the next couple months. It's great timing that we're doing this podcast because next week is when people probably see me working for Liquid IV and they're like, what the hell does this guy, what does Bobby even do? Like, I don't deal with anything with their product. I don't create content around Liquid IV. Anything you see on Liquid IV's Instagram, that has nothing to do with me. What we've been doing behind the scenes is documenting Brandon's journey, and very similar to Gary V's, like that's what you're going to start seeing starting next week. So for 3 months, pretty much of working for them, it's been this test and try. And once again, starting reporting directly to Brandon, then putting us in marketing, then trying to figure out like processes within that. It has been a learning curve for 3 months, but starting next week, it's all going to make sense. The Bearded Man now picks up the camera. He's shooting too. I'm helping my other butt, Jamie, the main lead guy. So it'll all start making sense. But imagine Gary V style content and showing behind the scenes of what's happening in Brandon's life and everyone around him.
Yeah. I mean, that's honestly one of the biggest. I knew you and I were going to podcast as soon as we had our first podcast together. But as soon as this transition happened for you, I was like, okay, I got to get him on the podcast like as soon as possible because I know so many people were going to have questions of like, what the fuck is going on right now? And I wanted to give you a platform to explain what's going on. And I was just genuinely curious. So I was kind of holding off of talking to you until we hopped on here. So,
and I think the timing couldn't have been better, man. I think timing, I want to go back real quick to networking, which we talked about earlier. That's very important too, is recognizing timing. And the timing of doing this podcast could have been better. I know we've talked about in the past of doing the same podcast other times, and the timing didn't work. And that's the beauty of it. When things are supposed to happen, they're going to happen. And as much as we want shit to happen today, it doesn't always pan out that way, but you got to just accept and know that like when it's supposed to happen, it is going to happen. And so the fact that we did the podcast today, and it's just like it will happen when it's supposed to be, and I'm so thankful to be part of this, man. I really respect you as a creator, and I think you already know that, and I think just through content, and I think that's the beautiful thing about the internet. Sometimes people like the comparison trap, or like we get so caught up in like other people's lives, we're not living our own life. It's like, yeah, there's all that negative shit, but like the positive things is if you follow the right people and you pay attention to, and you're conscious about who you're following and for what reasons, that shit can inspire and motivate you. And so seeing you succeed fires me up, knowing of what my inner potential could be. I might not be a filmmaker. I might not be traveling the same journey as you, but I know that energy and that like ability to like have a vision and execute it, it's the same shit that I'm doing. So it's like when I see you winning, I know at heart, I'm like, I can do the same for me. And I know that it's like, even if I'm not talking to Zach on a daily basis, on a monthly basis, I know that there's an energy there where it's like, we're just doing our thing, and like maybe once every 6 months we cross paths, we see each other, we hop on a podcast, we do this, we do that. It's all love. And so I'm really appreciative of who you are, the energy you put out there, and I was so happy that especially that group episode that we did with you, Babin.
Oh, that was great.
With Mitchell Mullins. That was great. Iconic, man.
Yeah.
Iconic. So
yeah,
it's all love, man. It's all love.
People listening to this need to go listen to that episode. Me,
incredible
Babin,
Tyler Babin,
and
Mitchell Mullins.
Mitchell Mullins, yeah.
Mitchell Mullins,
what a talented
guy. That
was
was a great day, man. That was an epic day. That was a day where I had to flip up the bed because I had to fit all you guys in there. There was 4 of us, and then you had Sam Snowden and Kirk shooting BTS, so we had to legit flip my bed up to make sure we could fit everybody in there. But rest in peace to that bed video and to that content crew, man. That was a lot of incredible moments filmed in that house. A lot of incredible moments.
How's your new house, man? How's that feel?
Feels great.
Where are you? What town are you in?
I'm in Hawthorne. So I went from a 35-mile commute to Liquid I.V, which is in El Segundo, to 3.5 miles. And now we're moving to a new office in May, which will bring my commute from 3.5 miles to 2 miles.
Oh, my God. There we go.
So you're talking about a complete life change for me. And it was definitely a level up from the last house we were in. I live with the same roommates. So we got ourselves a very nice next crib, and it's just a creative hub, and it just feels good, man. It's I've always wanted to live more towards the west side of LA, which is like the Venice area, Santa Monica for people that are listening, more towards like your neck of the woods, Culver, and so just being out this way and knowing that I'm 15 minutes from the beach like makes me so happy, because I was 55 minutes from living in the valley. And so knowing that when the summer is here, or, even tonight, maybe I'll go grab dinner. I could just drive 15 minutes down the road and just look out at the ocean. It's beautiful, man. It's a great headspace living in this house with these guys. We're all just focused and we're all doing what we have to do.
How do you feel now just getting up in the morning versus before? Is there a massive difference?
Yeah. I'm operating. I'm operating. I'm in.
You just rocket out of bed,
bro.
Let's go.
Don't get me wrong. When that alarm goes off, I'm like, fuck. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But when I get on my 2 feet and I know exactly what my day looks like and I know what's in front of me, I'm like, man, this is it. I'm living the best moments of my life right now, and I'm thankful for it, because I know plenty of people I went to college with that still want to go back to college. I want to go back. Those were the glory days. I am living the greatest moments of my life right now. Physically, mentally, spiritually, career, creatively, everything and above. And I'm thankful for it. I'm not here to flex. I'm not here to I'm trying to just let people know, like, you gotta just have hope, because I've been through some dark times. I've had more than enough emotional breakdowns in the last couple of years, and I talk about it not because I want people to pity me or feel bad for me, but because it's real shit and people are gonna go through some tough times. But I'm in the best moments of my life right now, and I'm extremely thankful for it, man. I'm so happy to be where I'm at right now. Dude, it's just gonna keep getting better.
Soak it in, baby. Soak it always.
Yeah, I loved your chime in when I posted something when I got the keys for the house.
Oh yeah,
and I was like, and I was like telling the world, I was like, listen, I'm not flexing. I'm just letting y'all know, like, this is the new thing. Like, we got a new crib. Like, I'm just trying to show y'all, like, this shit's possible, and that's really the intent. And you just came in chiming. I forgot what you said, but I loved it. You're like, Let them know.
Yeah, flex that shit,
flex.
son. Show it off. Let's go, baby. Yes.
I love that shit, bro. That shit had me gassed up.
Dude, I was pumped. I was pumped before I saw the place, and I was just jumping like, let's go. Like, show that shit off, man.
Yeah, man.
It's so
you gotta
key.
show the victories.
Yeah, you gotta celebrate your wins. You gotta celebrate.
I know you do.
Do you pop a champagne bottle? Tell me you popped one.
Oh, I'm waiting for the first housewarming, which you'll be at. So don't worry.
Right,
I'm waiting.
done.
We've been setting up the place. We've been like, we got a couple more things to get done in the next like 2 weeks, and then I think in 2 weeks from now, the house should be like at its operating, like where it's supposed to be with like things on the wall and whatnot. And definitely planning to have a very like low key, but like networky / very high energy, very good vibe. Like housewarming at some point. So when that happens, we'll pop the champagne then. So we've been waiting.
I hear it, dude. I think we talked about this on the podcast when you interviewed me, but I was struggling because I was starting to get some success. And I didn't know if my audience was used to that. And I felt like I never had a problem showing like the shitty parts of what I was going through, but I started having a problem with showing like, hey, I'm starting to make more money now. Oh, I just bought a car. Like, I'm starting to build my life. And so when I saw you talking like, like just kind of like being humble, I'm like, bro, no, flex that shit. You show that shit off because you own that. Because that's important. You know, if you want to buy a Lambo, you should not feel guilty about buying a Lambo, showing that shit off. Being like, hey, I did this.
I think it goes back to us being creators, right? Like, we've shared all the moments. People can go back on both of our content and see like those tough moments. And so it's like, you damn well better be sharing the good moments as well. It's a difference when you're somebody that only posts on Instagram when you have peaks in your life. That's a difference. Like, oh, you traveled. Like, there's certain people that like I still follow, and I'm just like, why am I still following you? Like, from college or whatever, that they only pop in my feed when they're like traveling, got a new car, got the new list. I'm
right.
That's all you talk about. But at the same time, it's like the world that we're in, we're as creatives and just like sharing our stories. We put out the bad shit, and we damn well better be putting out that good shit as well. So I'll do some flexing once this place is where it needs to be, for sure.
Because it motivates me. I like it. Keep flexing.
I love that. Always.
I don't want to take up too much of your time. This podcast has been it was exactly what I thought it was going to be. Are you on a time crunch, by the way? A little bit?
I'm fucking free flowing, bro. I'm good.
All right, well.
Yeah, I'm good. If you got any other questions about it, I'm totally on your time right now, man.
I got a few more for you.
Please.
First of all, I asked a bunch of questions on my Instagram, but I think because of the whole Kobe story, I can't refresh Instagram. I think everyone is on Instagram right now, and I don't have access to it. So
really,
anybody that sent a question, I apologize.
Like this.
Yeah, exactly.
Peace, Instagram.
Yeah. So,
I mean, I understand.
Yeah, but I have a few questions for you. These are questions that I ask all the guests, and this is a question that I asked you because you asked me to ask you a question on the podcast that we did together. That was something that I think you always did. You would tell the guest, "Hey, ask me a question," or something like that.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
So, anyways, this question I asked it to all the guests. If you just describe your perfect day. If money was no object, you've made it. You've gotten to your end goal. What would getting up look like for you all the way throughout your day and then going to bed? What would that look like?
I love that question, man. I remember, I like can almost vividly remember my exact answer. And what makes me so happy is knowing like that answer is exactly pretty much the same. And I think that's a good thing. I think it's a good thing. But my answer, the perfect day, man. Wow, it's such a good question. It's waking up in the morning. It's focusing on myself before anything else. Where it's going to the gym, getting a nice sweat in, coming back, getting some good food in me, protein shake, meditating, reading, soaking up knowledge. It's then, maybe spending the early part of the day. So like your 10 a.m. going to the beach with a bunch of friends, family, relaxing, like having a couple of cold beers, like playing some beach games, cranking up the music, enjoying the sun, like that 3 p.m. like middle of the summer sun is like it's scorching hot. you're just enjoying the weather. You're having a great time, going in the water, laying down on the beach, taking a nap. Then getting like a late lunch around like 4 p.m., maybe some tacos on Manhattan Beach.
Ooh.
I got all my family and friends still there. Leaving there, probably go back to the house, shower, cool down, relax, and just have like a big house party with just incredible people. With like my family flies in from Massachusetts. People like yourself, people that I've, podcasted with in the past, they come by. We have a huge cookout in my house. Music's blaring. Everyone's just having like the time of their life. It's just living in the moment, man. I loved yesterday in your Instagram. You were out in Venice Beach and you weren't there with your camera. You were there just to enjoy the moment. And I think that is something that I like. It's a tough thing, and it's a good problem to have, where I try to find the balance of like enjoying the moment, but also wanting to document it so I can relive the moment. And so it's like this weird balance, but there's so much beauty. And I think even the last couple months, because of this new job, I've realized like I don't need to show the world. A lot of the times I was documenting my journey, trying to prove to the world like I'm working as hard as I can. I'm like, I don't need to do that anymore. And so I've cut back on like posting like on social media as much, and like the day-to-day stuff that like was unnecessary. It's like I've grown so much more in the present moment. And so if my day could just be that, putting down the phone, not worrying about checking my phone, because all the people that I need to be in contact with are with me, and we're having the time of our lives, and it's good. It's just good energy, man. That's what I want my day to be. Just relaxed, nothing over the top, good food, good people, good energy, good drinks, and watching the sunset on the beach.
I love it, man. It's fantastic. Yeah. That sounds good.
That's a great question, man.
Yeah.
That's a great question.
It's a question that I ask myself. I try to ask myself like once a month at least. Just because I say this on every podcast, but there's so many things that people don't realize that they could be doing now to provide more joy, more fulfillment. I mean, people just get so caught up in the chase of whatever that end goal is, and they forget like, oh, I could go on a hike right now. I have time. I should probably spend more time with my family. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like these little things that don't cost any money, really, that they could be doing right now, because that's their perfect day. Why not live your perfect day right now? Why are you waiting for some fucking financial goal or whatever it is? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
because
so
the thing
big.
is, when you get those goals, it's like this, like, wow, I did it. And then you're like, what do I do now? So it's like, if you're not even enjoying the process or the moments along the way, you're going to be pissed at the end result, because you're like, I just spent 2 years pissed off of the world, and now I'm finally happy that I got the goal. And now it's like, okay, what's the next thing that I go for?
There's always another goal. There's always another number. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's insane. Anyways, well, I love that answer. We got two more. Last, second to last is, who should I have next on the podcast?
Ooh. The easy answer that I truthfully want to hear you two talk is going to be Lewis Howes.
Really?
I would love to hear you guys talk. I would love to hear you guys talk.
We're going to do it.
That's the easy answer, though. I'm trying to think of filmmaker. I'm trying to think of like,
no, dude, it doesn't have to be. Who do you want to see on this podcast? Who would you want to listen to that maybe you haven't listened to already, or just want to hear a different perspective? I love that. People always like reach for their phones and go on Instagram.
Yeah, I see. Whenever I do podcasts and stuff, I try to like put that phone down, and I just try not to look it up. I try to force myself to think of it.
This stumps everybody. It's so interesting.
It's tough, man. It's a great question. It's like, who do you want to hear more of? I mean, if we're talking big, bold, like shoot for the moon, who I would love to see, bro. Like, a great person would be Joe Rogan. He does enough interviewing where it's like, I would love to see the reverse. I'd love to see somebody like him. I'd love to see you interview him. I'd love to see you interview The Rock. Like people that, even Kevin Hart, or like people that are that are just on completely different spheres of like execution and like goal chasing and just above and beyond, like just another levels. You know what I mean? If you can get any of those three, I would be I will be the first person to listen into it.
I would be the first person to listen into it. That would be nuts. That would be nuts. Well, we'll see. You never
I hope
know.
those are good answers. I don't know what other people have said in the past, but
that's amazing. I mean, I don't know. Did you see Kevin? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
The doc.
The doc. Yeah,
loved it.
It was so good.
I loved it.
So
I love
good,
documentaries
dude.
like that. And I love seeing. I think the timing that they shot that, they couldn't have.
Oh my god!
They couldn't have asked. Yeah,
so good.
Like,
the timing.
asked for a better time to do it. Yeah,
it's all about timing, right?
Before you ask the last question, I want to ask you a question. Who's your number one on your list right now? If you could interview anyone,
I honestly think it would be Joe Rogan. That's just like I didn't really think about it, but I'm like he's such an inspiration to me, and like the way he does his podcast. I mean, I don't know. I think we talked about this before, but like the inspiration has always been like I just want to make this conversational. Like whatever happens, happens. Yeah, I got some questions on my notes right now, but where's this gonna go? And if it goes in that direction, it goes in that direction, and it's all good. And it's just free flowing. And I'm like, that's what I want. That's how I see my podcast going. Very, very similar route. So yeah, he's just a big inspiration. Just his mindset, the way he's so open to any kind of side. Like he sees the positives and the negatives with his own viewpoints. Like it's interesting. So yeah, I'd love to. I
love everything about his podcast, the way it's set up, the way he runs the show. It's just authentic. It's very minimal. It's not this high production studio. Like it's just raw. It's just super raw, man.
Yeah. And the guests that he gets and for how long, like 3 hours with like
4.
Yeah. I'm like, this is, you'll never see that on TV ever.
No. Joe Rogan's podcast where my cheat code for driving Uber, I would keep one AirPod in my left ear where they couldn't see.
Yeah.
And I would, a 3-hour podcast would get me 30-40% of my day done.
Yeah.
And so just listening to him talk, it was
fascinating.
It was the greatest thing in the world.
Fascinating. Yeah.
We'll make it happen. You spoke it.
I spoke it.
Existence, and now,
it's
now make it
it's
happen.
out in the public now. I got work to do.
So we can cut the clip.
Oh boy. That just put a lot of pressure. Dude,
Matt Diavella is another person too.
I get that. I get that all the time. He's a big
That'd
inspiration.
Be a great conversation.
Yeah, it would be.
That'd be a great conversation.
I've got some connections to him, so we'll see what happens.
It's gonna happen.
We'll make the ask in the right way.
100%.
See what happens.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Dude, where can people follow you, bro? I know we didn't really talk about your new podcast a little bit.
Don't worry about it. That's still very early on. It's only 3 or 4 podcasts in, but you could. I'll tell you this: if anybody's looking for me, it's at Bob-A, BO 3 B's 4 A's and a Y. I know everyone's like, what the hell is this guy thinking?
Yeah.
Instagram, I wanted BOBBAY. They didn't have it. Tried 2 A's, didn't have it, and it took me 3 B's, 4 A's, and a Y. But it rolls off the tongue pretty far.
It does.
So you can find me on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. The old podcast that I used to run is Purpose in the Youth, and the new podcast that I just started is called It's the Bearded Man, which is just a solo podcast of me breaking down different subjects and different topics. So I'm sure if they Google my name, they can find me anywhere. But yeah, I mean, if you found me through this podcast, I would love to hear about it and let me know what you thought. And if you especially love this podcast, go to Zach's podcast app and write him a review of why you enjoy this podcast. And then just at the end say, from the Bearded Man or whatever. And then we'll know that you came from this episode. But
I love it.
Make sure you guys give him that review, because if you're enjoying the content, I know how much those reviews help grow the actual show. So
they really do.
He deserves it, and he's putting in the work.
Dude, I love it, man. Thank you. Guys, everybody, just send Bobby a DM. Just tell him what's up. Send him some love. Bobby, dude, thank you so much for joining us. This was,
pleasure,
like
man.
I said, this was exactly how I thought it was going to go down. I love talking to you, man.
Brother.
Simulation.
This
Yeah.
is the simulation. This is exactly how it was supposed to go.
That's right. Who knows what's going on in another dimension? We're not going to go down that road. That'll be another episode.
Part 2.
That's right.
Part 2.
But dude, I gotta tell you, man, the energy you bring it's nothing like anybody. I just haven't talked to anybody that brings that kind of energy and makes people feel so good. So, yeah, I just want to acknowledge you for that, man. It's been a pleasure.
I appreciate it, man. I respect you, and I'm glad that we've built the relationship that we have, and I know we both have positive and great futures in front of us. So know that the energy and the love is very mutual, my man.
100%. I can't wait, bro. We'll talk soon.
Let's go. Peace. See ya.
All right.
Bye.
I've been hungry all my life.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys and gals enjoyed this podcast with my man Zack Kravits. Big round of applause for Zack having me on the podcast. Let's go. If you want to hear more interviews from Zack, head over to his podcast, Ramblin Radio with Zack Kravits, where he's interviewing a bunch of different people. And I'm sure you guys and gals will find value, insight, and inspiration from some of the conversations and stories that he's having, as well as make sure you head to Instagram and give him a follow and give him a little shout out for having me on the podcast. As I always ask, gotta jab, right hook, as my man Gary V would say. 2 things to help this podcast continuously grow. 1, head to the iTunes podcast app. It's the Bearded Man Podcast. I'm hoping to have at least 50 reviews by the time I record the next solo podcast. So if you want to help me get there, I think we're at about 28, 29. If you want to help me get to 50, tell your friends, tell your grandmother, tell your boyfriend, girlfriend, tell everybody you know. Head to the iTunes podcast app. It's the Bearded Man. Leave a 5-star review. Leave a nice comment, and if not, leave a honest comment. Tell me whatever you're feeling about this podcast thus far. And lastly, you can share out the podcast on your IG story at Bobbay, B-O, 3 B's, 4 A's, and a Y. I know you guys and gals are probably sick of me asking you guys and gals to do that. That's how we grow the content. That's it for today. Thank you guys and gals so much for listening. We'll see you real soon with another It's the Bearded Man podcast. Keep crushing it. Keep hustling. Keep grinding. Keep doing the damn thing. It's the Bearded Man. See ya.